Let's thread this Bernina 534 made in Switzerland, a machine from the 50s. We need to lift the presser foot, and the manual also says to lift the needle and place this at almost the top position. So we are going to pass the thread to this guide. This other guide, just insert from the side, look with the magnifying glass if you need so. Then this, I'll explain in a moment the way it works. It has a line here, and we simply just lift the presser foot and just pass the thread underneath. You will see there is a channel, goes just like that, and just simply pass the thread, makes just like a U, inverse U. And then bring it up here. It simply just stays inside that groove, does not pass this pin, just stays there and continue upwards. I'll explain in a moment that this, what the manual says, is that this is some sort of a self-adjustable tensioner, not tension disc. It does have disc. What we want is during sewing is to align the center line with the side lines, the white one. Center one is slightly thicker, so during sewing we are going just to try to align the three, and that's it, nothing else. There is no little spring in front here like on for instance other singer. Now we are going to pass into the eye here, and perhaps you notice there are two openings here. I'm not sure if this is for double needle or not. I could not find in the manual. I pass it in the bigger eye here, then it's going to drop and it's going to pass underneath this first guide. So just pass the thread right like this, and it's going to go underneath it. And then here right above the needle there is one last guide, this one. We pass the thread from the left side and it's going just to get underneath, and then front to rear, and that's it. Pass it in between the legs of the presser foot. For the bobbin part, this one door, it's slightly difficult to open. Watch your fingernail, maybe use something plastic. It's just the usual way. I will just say that when you look from this angle, if you pull the thread, the bobbin will rotate counterclockwise. So if you remove it from there and face the bobbin just like normally, it has to rotate clockwise, right? Watching the bobbin from face clockwise, turning when you pull the thread. But in this position it's going to be the opposite, counterclockwise. That's just the normal rotation. We are going just to let the thread hang in there, don't worry about it, and make sure the thread goes to the left of the hook. So we have the hook right here, thread has to go on the left side, and that's it, nothing else. Just close the door, make sure the thread is loose in there somehow. I suggest perhaps use the thread at the top of this door. I would say put it to the left of this pin. Maybe just don't let it too loose inside so it doesn't hang on something. It's just going to move around. At this moment we are going to capture the thread. For the thread from the needle, it's just go again in between and just hanging at the rear. Thread from the bobbin is hanging here. Rotate the hand well, just like this. The top comes towards you, one full turn, the needle will come down and will pick up, and notice the presser foot is lifted, not lowered at this point. There's no tension, this one is not tensioned in there. One full turn until the tip of the needle comes above. So let me just try to get it from underneath. I'll just pass a Q-tip or anything like this. So this is going to be one thread there, and just pull, 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 and notice this thread will go inside now. Actually just pull like this. I was doing the wrong way. Pull this loop and grab the rear as well. So this is the thread from the needle, but it's going to pull the other thread at the same time. try to do this. So we have one end, it's coming from the needle, and the two other ends, this is the same thread. I'm just going to pull it from inside there, and notice how the thread from the bobbin now goes inside. So this is the end straight to the needle. Right now it's no longer in between presser foot, it doesn't matter, but these are just, it's just a loop. Just to touch it so I don't get confused. This is the thread from the bobbin coming out. We'll need to pull it all the way out. And now if we untangle the two threads, this is the thread from the needle, the black one, going again to pass it in between presser foot towards the rear of the machine. I'm doing this with one hand, that's why perhaps it's more tricky. And this thread now comes from the center hole there. That's the hole where the thread from the bobbin must be removed. If you want, I can undo the presser foot because it's very easy in this machine. Very interesting design. I'm just going to lower this, lift it, just like that. This tiny handle, look at this. With the presser foot all the way up, needle all the way up, I just pull down the presser foot. See what happens? Very nice. It looks like an amputee leg, but anyway, we see now much better here how the thread from the bobbin comes from this tiny hole there. Watch your hands, the bulb, this is the original halogen bulb, is still quite hot. Thread from the needle, thread from the bobbin. We are going to start sewing in a second. We just put this presser foot. We need to kind of incline it just to match. Again, it's at the top position, right? Presser foot at this point. And just kind of, it has a small guide, right? Oops. It has a small pin guide. Let's take something to show you. And where is my Q-tip? My Q-tip is gone. Q-tip. So this notch here will enter this small pin right there, but you need to incline it and watch your finger for the needle, right? So don't punch yourself. Okay, it stays straight, just keep it in there and lower this small hook right there. Very nice, very good design. By the way, this plate is hot from the bulb. I suggest perhaps you can replace it with LED because this, it's burning. Anyhow, now make sure it's secured, and let's pass again the thread from the needle in between and towards the rear of the machine, and then the thread from the bobbin goes the same way, except it stays low just on the plate. It doesn't pass through these legs and goes to the rear of the machine. We are ready to start sewing, but first we need to install the extension bed. Has a small lever. This is to the right, open position, to the left, closed position. Notice it makes almost 45 degrees. Open, close, and we will have a small locking clip here. This is open, it doesn't protrude. This is closed, it protrudes, and it's going to lock. Underneath here there is a small notch, but I cannot do more than this with just one hand. So make sure first it's in the unlocked position to the right. Hold it like this and try to insert it flat with the borders, so flat with the surface, as flat as you can. Notice how it's passing underneath. So keep it just like it should stay in normal position, otherwise it may not slide in there. And I realize I need to also somehow put the threads on top of it, but you have two hands, you don't have the camera doing this. So just slide it like it should sit. Here there is a bump in there, there is not a bump in there, so there is just one bump here. It has to stay on top of it. However, my plate, and notice how it's fitting here without gap. However, my plate here stays fairly well, but you need to kind of push downwards to make it flat. It kind of warps a little bit, perhaps it's very old. And notice the rear, it's not flush with the surface, but you have to make it flush. So make sure here it's fully engaged. See, it kind of rotates a little bit left, right. It's wobbly, but as long as I'm going to hold it with my knee, I'm going to push to keep it there. Make sure this stays low, flush, and then you have to keep this also. I have to push mine just to stay flush. So now it's mostly flush. Would be easier with two hands for sure. Mostly flush. It's mostly all the way in, and then I'm going to be able to rotate this, and it takes slight force, but don't force too much. If you force too much, something is not aligned. And you rotate it until it's rotates. Okay, I can tell you it's quite hard the last small degrees, but you feel when it stops. So don't force too much because it's old, and that small locking pin may crack this plastic. So if it doesn't fit easily, it's because it's not flush, and not fully engaged. But once it's locked properly in place, it's fairly flush all the way. And of course, you didn't forget to keep the threads above, otherwise you're going to just try to fish them from there.